We are now in the last section of this course, section 7. Here we will be understanding the various recommendations from ITIL for the practice success. There will be only one Bloom's Level 3 question from this topic, which means an application question. These recommendations are based on the ITIL guiding principles. Here is a quick summary of the 7 ITIL guiding principles. Focus on value, start where you are, progress iteratively with feedback, collaborate and promote visibility, think and work holistically, keep it simple and practical, optimize and automate. This table lists the recommendations for the success of the service desk practice. It has 3 columns. The first column is the recommendation itself. The second column comments elaborates that further, and the last column is the mapping to relevant guiding principles. Of course, you might be able to think about other principles as well for the mapping in addition to whatever has been listed here, and that should be okay as well. For the exam, we need to specifically go with this table. So the first recommendation is to start by having a clear communication channel for the users. So the word start is important here. So it is not important that all the procedures need to be in place or the tools have to be implemented, but the communication channel establishment is more important. So users need to have a friendly interface so that their queries are not lost. And even though procedures may be imperfect, that should be fine. And so remember, start where you are. Start with the communication channel first for the users. And the principles here are focus on value for the users and start where you are. The next recommendation is to build a team of service desk agents that understand the user's business. And the detail here is that the service desk agents should understand the business quite well. Therefore, giving them a tour to the business workplace will be very good for them to understand the user's business. So that should be part of the agent induction program. Train the service desk agents in the supported business roles. Let them understand the business roles clearly. And also, because only then they will know what are the users telling them afterwards in their queries. Therefore, focus on value once again and collaborate and promote visibility, because by working closely with the business, there is collaboration and visibility to the business of the users. The next recommendation is to implement new channels and tools gradually based on the needs and preferences of the users, not only on the technology opportunities. Listen to the users' feedback and improve the channels accordingly. The comment here is that overcomplicated or unfamiliar interfaces and channels result in low adoption and affect user experience and satisfaction. Now, in many cases, it can happen that an organization is establishing automation such as chatbots, self-help, etc., just because their competitors are doing it, or they just saw somebody else doing it. Now, that's not a good idea. It should depend on the needs or the preferences of the users. Sometimes the user base may not appreciate chatbots, may not appreciate self-help. Or they may have liked them in a limited manner or a proper manner. Therefore, those should be the key considerations rather than jumping at technology opportunities and implementing them. For example, even thinking about AI, machine learning, and let's impose this on the users, and that won't be good. Though if done in the right way, those will be very beneficial for user satisfaction. So here, once again, focus on value and then progress iteratively with feedback. And that's because gradually increase the number of channels and tools. Don't put everything in place just because that will work out anyway for the users. We have a couple more recommendations on this slide. The first one here is to automate repeating and standardized operations. Again, it's a little bit similar to what we noted earlier. Don't rush to replace human agents with chatbots and other automation. Consider machine learning only when you have sufficient and high quality data for the learning. Take the user's expectations and habits into account. So Mainly, it's about going with user expectations and habits and apply machine learning only when there is sufficient high quality data. And definitely, the machine learning can be used for self help, meaning the machine can create self help articles on its own rather than humans writing it. So, generative AI can be used to create those self help articles. And the same thing can be done by the machine to automatically categorize queries based on how queries have been categorized in the past by agents. So those information has to be fed in properly for the machine learning to work in a good way. Here, the guiding principles are optimize and automate and progress iteratively with feedback. So this automation should be progress iteratively rather than trying to automate all in one go. Then the next recommendation, the last one is set the objectives and metrics for service desk in the context of the service value streams and of the service consumer's business, which means do not focus purely on the service desk performance metrics. Understand and support its role in the service provider and the service consumer organization. So what this means here is that metrics are important because that will help to improve, but just creating metrics for the sake of it will not be useful. It should all be created with respect to the value streams. So for example, the two PSFs that we went through in section 1 and the metrics for each of those PSF, do not apply them in as you learn them. You may have to use some aggregation or be more creative to create the metrics for the value stream itself rather than metrics only for the service desk practice. Now, it may be okay to create certain metrics only for this practice, but value stream metrics have more meaning. So, for example, a simple value stream metric could be the time taken from when the user called in until the user query was resolved. Because in that, not only the service practice, desk practice would be engaged, but also maybe other practices as well. Therefore, think and work holistically rather than thinking only about the service desk practice metrics. Focus on value for the users and collaborate and promote visibility among the various practices.